Hey guys, it's Elaine. This is part 2 of the Jahan video. I hope you guys have been enjoying this series. Like I said, there's maybe 1 or 2 more of these to go, and then I've got to get to work on And the Coming of Nighttime. But enough of that for right now. What I wanted to go back to was in crafting the character of Jahan, and she went through several changes as the story of the Enslaved went through several changes. When I first wrote it, it was a short story, and it started with her sitting alone in the dark, recounting the situation as it happened, as if she was giving a captain's log. That stayed through several different versions, including the first screenplay version. In fact, the version that got me into film school, that was it. It had bookends, and it began and ended the same way, which is Jahan sitting alone in the dark, retelling this story from her point of view. When I started working on the book and then the revision of the book, I changed it. I realized I didn't want that bookend. The bookend became the Pt2 litany, because it gives you an insight into the mind of the Pt2. And Jahan, then, it became more of a challenge about how to depict her character in regards to the journey she has to take from spoiled rich girl to the more stronger leader towards the end. And I found the way to do it was to think of, well, what's her mindset? Is she bigoted with a malicious point, or is she like people that I met when I was in high school, where it's not really bigot, it's a type of naivete. She doesn't know things. She knows what she's been told, but she doesn't know from experience, and there's a big difference with that. And so for her, it's a matter of, she's been taught from cradle on that your dad's a god. Your dad is the god. And when he transitions to heaven, you're going to become a goddess. And everything in her life has been pointing her in that direction. And they've been sort of grooming her in a way so that she's never had any doubt of that situation. She's never been put in a situation from childhood on that would give her any sort of doubt about who she is in regards to what's expected of her. But there's always been that sort of niggling little doubt. Is this really it? Do I really want to do this? There's just something in her that is just naturally hesitant in that regard, mixed in with the point of, she's used to getting what she wants. And so when they say, oh, now you got to work, it's like, what? No, I just want to, put on pretty clothes and keep going to ceremonies and stuff like that. It's like, no, now you actually have to work. All that stuff we've taught you, now you're the one going to be in charge, and you have to make decisions and, and all of that, and judge things and officiate and whatnot. And it's like, you mean I have to work for this? It's like, yep, you do. Oh, well, damn, I don't know if I want to do that. And I went from that position of, it's not that she's malicious or naturally mean. For the most part, it's she doesn't really know better. And because she is very naive, she hasn't been allowed to experience the world beyond a specific position. Think of Oscar Wilde's The Happy Little Prince. That statue, because of where he's positioned, he can only see, the prince whose spirit inhabits that statue has only lived his life within these walls. So he doesn't know what life outside those walls is, and imprisoned in a statue, he can only see so far, and what he doesn't see everything everything as it truly is, only as people would like him to know. And it's that little sparrow who helps him by going out in the world and saying, you should know that this is this and this is this and this is that. And it's the sparrow that helps him. It's one of my favorite stories, and it's by Oscar Wilde. I'm nuts that way. Anyway, but there's nothing to do with Jahan. But her, well, yes, it does. She has grown up in a sheltered position that has been set up to, as her father has felt, was necessary to guide her in a direction that he wanted her to go, without consideration of how she wanted to go. And yeah, there are things I could tell you about that journey and how she's brought to certain things, but then you wouldn't need to buy the book, and I need you to buy the book, so I can't tell you that stuff. Sorry. Anyway, she has a journey, and that journey is one of getting knowledge, and through getting that knowledge and experience, then gaining wisdom. That's what I was shooting for. And it was like, well, that means she needs to be naive. That it's her journey from naivete to wisdom. And yeah, it's not total, I've been to the mountaintop wisdom, but it is the wisdom she has at the end is very hard won. It is a greater understanding of herself and who she is than she had at the beginning of her journey. And so that's what I was shooting for in regards to giving her character a more realistic feel. I will say two of my favorite characters, and one of which you will see in the next picture, are Kalan, goddess of war, and Payar, goddess. He looks like a woman, but he's not. Payar, the god of love, youth, and beauty, and his picture is actually one that I'm working on, getting ready to scan in and then paint. But it's trying to capture him ever so right. There are some characters that you really need to capture them correctly if you're going to paint them, at least in my opinion, that I want to capture him. I'm not trying to do it perfectly, but I want to do it in a way that you really get to have some idea of who this person is as you're looking at them. But he was fun because, I had to remind myself, just as I did with Kalan, just as I did with all my characters, no matter what side of that argument they stand on, is an antagonist is the protagonist of his own story. So yeah, we may look at Payar as that bad guy. In many ways, I decided in regards to the heaven of the Thyr, Payar is their devil incarnate. So yeah, from the mindset of the Thyr, he's evil, or they don't think of him as evil, but they refer to him as a beast. In Payar's head, he's the hero. He's just a self-actualized being with a clear set of priorities, and, as well as a very clear-cut agenda on how to achieve them, as opposed to, the way he looks at other people and the way they go through things. The same with Kalan, goddess of war. She's very much a pragmatist. You don't know what she's going to do until she does it. And part of that is from the mindset of she's trying to be fair. Somebody else may look at her from the outside and going, damn, she's kind of cold. But it's like, no, she's trying to be fair. She, in Kalan's eyes, emoting over every little thing that happens, or getting too visibly upset, or too visibly looking like you're leaning one way or another, for her is not the way to go. She is the head of everything that has to do with military or security for that planet. And therefore, she is trying to be as fair as she can. She serves the Asgil. She serves the planet. She looks at it, yes, she is the Asgil sword arm, but more importantly, she takes the position of it's her duty to maintain peace, order, and safety for every living being on that planet. So it's not just the rule of the Thyr, it's also the Padira that she takes in mind with her actions. So what she does is she just sort of tries to forever walk that midline. She is never too happy in anyone's sight, and she is never too angry in anyone's sight. When she does let it out, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. And people tend to go, okay, you know what? Maybe this was not a good idea to piss her off today. When you do see those little points where she lets her emotions show completely, you do kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, she could be dangerous. And she was fun to write because it was, okay, what's the midpoint in this? If Jahan's this way and Oscal's over there and Bayar's over there and Tro and those guys are over there, where is she at? Where is she at? She kind of became my sort of true north, if you were. And that was really fun because that meant I could make Jahan and if Kalan was my true north, then everybody else could be all these other different points on the compass, so to speak. And that was fun because she also, that character also helped me in crafting Kalan because I was ever balancing the weight between them of, if Jahan feels like when they sit and talk privately and she feels that Jahan has gotten a little way off the mark, she tells her very, very straightforwardly, you lost control. You shouldn't have done that. And she does it very clean cut. It's not in a way to say I'm going to be hurtful to you. And Jahan gets that. She's the one that Jahan can take that sort of criticism or critique of her abilities or inabilities of, and not feel offended or insulted by. And that meant also looking at Jahan as someone if she was a malicious sort of person, she couldn't do that. If she was a very malicious person, the minute anybody got up and said, you let this happen and you shouldn't have. You should have been a little more jealous of your position or your power, or you should have maybe taken it from this position. She would immediately see that as an attack and be on the defensive in a sort of very evil type of way. And I didn't want that in Jahan. There were a couple of times when I was working on a scene and I tried it from that position and it always came out ugly. It always came out with Jahan looking in a way of, oh, no one's going to like her. Hell, I don't like her. And so I always found myself gravitating of, she is one of those characters who truly doesn't know. She's been in this sort of bubble, and now she, that has sort of given her, she's kind of had this lovely little bubble of privilege around her, and now she's in the real world, and it's a lot different because now she's known there are expectations, but now she has to actually fulfill those expectations. And it's like that, well, I kind of knew, but I really didn't, but oh damn. And it's watching her at first stumbling through, but we all have to stumble. We can't go from crawling to running a marathon. We get up, we fall down, we take a couple of steps, we stumble, we look like an old drunk man wobbling around, but eventually we get it, we stand up, we move forward. And so it was like that when working on Jahan's character of, okay, she's very much like a child in the beginning, a very young child, very naive, smart, but really naive. And so, yeah, those first few scenes, she's standing up, she stumbles, she falls, she slips, and The only thing is, she's doing it in front of all these other people who they've had to do it themselves, but their expectations of her is, you're supposed to be the mother goddess, so you're supposed to be beyond all of this, which is an unrealistic expectation. Yes, it is. So she has to face up against quite a bit because they're not giving her much room to grow in, especially when the situation gets up and Oscal gets up and says, hey, guess what? You know what? This thing about us being gods, it's not true. This is not our home world. Our ancestors came here and unrightfully took this world and decided that they were going to rebuild society in their image, and they shouldn't have. They didn't have a right, and they did it by telling these people they were gods. So we need to right this wrong. And so everybody is kind of put in this sort of defensive position. And there are those who support him and those who don't. And then, of course, there's always that group who's stuck in the middle, who don't know which way to go. And all of them are looking to her to make a decision where, if it was her dad, his decision would have been, Jemai would have just been like, bye, take him out, kill him, be done with it, or, hey, give me something, I'll kill him myself. And Jahan doesn't make that immediate decision. She was hesitant about taking a position to begin with, and now having this sort of hairy little chestnut dropped on her, she's kind of like, damn, I don't know what to do. I'm not sure how to handle this. And everyone is looking at her like, how come you don't know what to do? You should be better at this. Weren't you trained? And it's like, yes, she was. But when something comes that flips your whole world upside down, nobody's trained for that. I'm sorry. Nobody is. There's always that one thing. You think you know it all until something comes up that, while you know about it in theory, you're not prepared for it. We watch movies and stuff and we say, oh, well, if that was me in that position, ha ha ha. And it's like, well, no, you really can't say that. Even though sometimes just to make ourselves feel better, we'll say, well, if someone said like that to me, I'll whoop their ass. It's like, no, you don't know that, because you don't know the situation in which that might happen to you. You don't know if you be the one to be the hero or to be the coward. Until the situation happens. And for Jahan, that's it. Yes, she understands the theory, but then the reality hits her. And that's, and that's hard. And she has to find her way through it. And so, yeah, she's getting to her feet. She's slipping, she's falling, she's stumbling, she crawls. And unfortunately, there are those around her who aren't prepared for this either, and are even more so looking at her to go, lead us, do this, make this better, get us through this. And she's like, well, hell, I'm still, my daddy died 6 months ago. I'm still dealing with that. And now you want me to just lead you like I know it all? No. But it does, and I don't know anybody who can go through that and be okay. There are some people who, they're natural born leaders, and publicly you're going to see their strength, you'll see their integrity, and then privately they're going to go and cry. They are. I don't know anybody who's not going to feel thrown by that, who at least for a few minutes is going to have a moment, even in private, to just break down and let it out. So that once having let it out, they can get up and go, okay, now let me get up and figure this out and see if we can't find a solution. And so what we're looking at with Jahan is her trying to figure that out. She's trying to figure out how to get through all these emotions that she's feeling about dealing with her dad's death and everything, and about this job that she's not sure she's quite up to. And I think that's really honest on her regard. She doesn't step into it like, yeah, I'm in charge. I'm the head bitch in charge. I know everything. she is sort of stepping into it like, well, I don't know if I know. And she was, and there's a point when she confronts Oscal, and she was like, I was expecting you to be the one to guide me through situations like this. So she had expectations that are not being met. And yeah, that can throw you. And so, yeah, she doesn't do everything people want her to do the way they want her to do when they want her to do it. She does do what she thinks is right in that regard. And, but because of her hesitancy and whatnot, it does leave room for other people to interpret and or misinterpret things, and to some degree take matters into their own hands. And I'm not going to say anything more about it than that, other than if you really want to know how it goes down and who wins, and if the truth is held up as the truth, or if they bury it ultimately because, hey, we got power and why should we dump it? Go buy the Enslaved. It's at Amazon. And you can get it in Kindle and you can get it in paperback. And I will post a link as I've done, and I will do it again for this video so that you can go to my author's page and get it and enjoy it. And I've been rambling for 20 minutes now. I think I've rambled enough for this video. So I'm going to leave some, I think, music that I hope is fitting for our character. And hope you enjoy the rest of this. Have a great day. Be nice to people around you. Be nice to yourselves. If you are a writer and you're looking for someone who talks a lot better about the writing process than I do, go check out Jenna Moretzi, either on Facebook, Twitter, or here at YouTube. She's got great advice for writers, especially newer writers. But in the meantime, I'm just going to say, hey, Peaches, I love you, girl. I wish I could move to Friendly Towers. I think life would be easier for me. And everybody else, Trent Kaniga, dude, you rock. Other than that, yeah, peace out. I love you. Smooches. Bye.